everyone. Dawn Francis here from the book show. And I'm so excited. I want to say happy Women's History Month to everyone. This is our first show in the month of March. And as we are excited, I hope you are excited as well. We have two amazing best-selling authors with us today. And we're going to start today's show off with a special person, a very special friend of mine. Her name is Adrienne Varlack, and she's going to join us right now. Her and her wonderful, amazing husband, Adrienne and Adrienne Varlack. And I've already asked her if it's okay if I can utilize her nickname, which is Tracy. And so I'm so excited that you guys are with us today. How are you doing? Welcome.
Thank you. We're doing good. It's good to be here.
Awesome. You guys look amazing, and it's so great to see you. And so we're going to dive right in, and we're going to start off just asking our wonderful Tracy if she would tell us just a little bit about herself so that our audience can have the opportunity to get to know you just a little bit better. And so I want you to share with us, who is Tracy Adrienne Varlack behind the scenes, beyond the titles. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I was born and raised in Chicago, Illinois. I'm a wife, I'm a mother, daughter. I love crafts. Now I'm done with the cold weather of Chicago, so I'm nice and warm here in Tennessee. I love going to church, anything crafting, anything that I can do with my hands, I love to do. I'm a simple person, hopefully low maintenance, at least I think I am. You agree, babe? And just love God, love ministry.
Oh, yes. That's awesome. And I gotta turn the question to the man now. I want him to tell us, who is that lady that's sitting next to you, in your words, so that the world can know who she is. In your words.
She is creative. She's an entrepreneur. She's an author. She's a great mother. She's a wife. She's an amazing cook. Now let me tell you something. When I got married to her, I gained all kinds of weight because she can cook like nobody did business. I'm telling you. She is thoughtful. She's caring. She's straight as an arrow. But she does it in love. And I am beyond blessed to be married to this woman.
Oh, that is such wonderful words from such a wonderful man. And I thank you for that. So now we're going to dive right in really quickly into your book, because our audience, many who have read and those who have not read, are going to get just a teeny bit about what's in that story. And I would like for you to tell us, why did you title it Pain Therapy? There's so much weight in that title, Pain Therapy.
Yes. The reason for that title, Pain Therapy, is because actually if and so in that experience, writing it all down, I was wondering what to call the chapter, and realizing that through all of the pain, how much God actually showed me through my pain. It was going through a big, huge, wonderfully awesome, painful, exciting, scary therapy session. And God just began to work on me from some things of the past, and work on me some with things that I just had not let go, even from the experience of losing my daughter. So it was that God was just giving me that therapy, the help that I needed to get through the pain that I've been going through, or pain that I had not even let go of.
Oh wow. And in this season right now, therapy it's a big deal because so many
Yes.
people are hurting and so many people are going through so many things. And I think it's so appropriate. But I'd like for you to tell me, um, what is the message behind your story? What's the message behind the story for the people? Because there's definitely a weighted message.
Yes. Yes. The message behind this chapter, this book, if you look at the world today, you see so many people hurting. You hear about people taking their own lives, and you never even expected it because they look like everything is fine. They're singing on the outside. You hear comedians taking their life. And when you think comedians, these are people that make other people laugh and happy, but they've taken their own lives through pain. And I wonder if it's because they didn't give themselves permission to grieve
Wow.
when something happened. They allow themselves
Wow.
to feel pain. Maybe they thought that, oh, I just got to keep it together and keep everybody laughing and smiling and happy. But on the inside, they were just dying. So my message in this chapter is to let people know that you're not alone, for one, and it's okay to go through the grief. It's so the pain. Yes, it hurts, but there's an other side, and you've got to get through that pain to get to that side to see how much better things can actually be.
That's a powerful message because it's a powerful, positive message that people need to understand. Yes, they can get through it. So I appreciate you
Yes.
saying
Yes.
that. I'd like to ask you, and I'd like for your husband to chime in on this as well. How would you say, even going through what you went through in sharing your story, how did it affect your marriage? Because there's a lot of people, even through this whole therapy uh, concept question of people going through things. How did it affect your marriage? Because we know that even through this pandemic, a lot of marriages have been broken. And so can you speak to that? And even after that, I'd like for you to speak to, that person who may be going through what you have gone through. And I'd like for you to speak to that person and encourage them.
Okay. Yeah, I'll start it. From my perspective, uh, going through the pain, I became very angry. I'm usually not an angry person, but watching my wife suffer, watching my family suffer, trying to deal with the reality of a situation that for a lot of it was out of our control, uh, created a lot of anger. And to be very honest, at times I would put that anger on my family, feeling like I'm the man of the house. Man, I should be able to handle this. I should be in control. Be out of control, and especially coming from a Christian environment where God was everything, and we thought God could handle everything. Our daughter, our youngest daughter, in the condition that she was in. As a matter of fact, when they had the surgery, the only way they could really help her was she had to have a bone marrow transplant. And if you can imagine this, at one time, we had two daughters in surgery because our older daughter, Tess, she was the one that had the perfect match for the bone marrow. Right. So when they did the transfer from Tess to Andrea, our youngest daughter, created Tracy was in one room and I was in the other room. And I wanted to be with both sets. Didn't want to be separated at all from the family. But that created so much anger in me. But I'll tell you what happened. God started speaking to me. And actually, when he started speaking to me, I didn't even know because I didn't share any of this with my wife. But she knew, she felt it, but I didn't share with her. But when I was going through, God asked me a question. almost every day. And I call it, if you're part of me, I call it the nagging voice of the Spirit. Because he talked to me every day. He said, Adrian, do you trust me?
Yes.
I said, God, at first I said, God, man, all of this, I don't trust you. Look at what we're going through. But every day he would ask me, Adrian, do you trust me? And finally, at the end, I said, okay, God, I trust you. I had no idea that the same thing happening with my wife, not necessarily the same situation as far as anger, but that Tracy, do you trust me?
Yeah.
What it did to our marriage was, at first, the anger was splitting us, forcing us to move away. But as we learned to trust God, it came back around to, God, we trust you, and that made our marriage stronger.
Yes.
I'm going to tell you, I don't know how to explain that, except that it made our marriage stronger.
I thank you for
Yes.
that. And we're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back. And we'll be right back actually with our second author. And you got to stay with us because the Varlocks are going to come back as well. So we'll be back in just a moment.
So nice, so nice. So nice, so nice. Virgin Islands nice. So nice.
Give me more. We about to blow. Give me more. Give me more. We got one life, so we not gon' waste it. Living large like the rich and the famous. So
I'm Charles Meriday, and I'm in the restaurant business. In my 20 years as a chef and restaurant owner, I've been able to work and eat in some of the great kitchens around the globe. There's a whole side of the restaurant that most people will never get to see. So now, I want to take you to the back of the house, into kitchens of some of the best chefs in the world. Along the way, I'll share some of my own tips and recipes so you can cook like a pro too. So join me in the back of the house for a whole new perspective on cooking and food. Order in. Roger. Serve it, please.
Bonafide Club.
I'm glad that you came, please.
You know you are a hot one. We are lime, we are laugh, we are chat, we no change, we are hot one. Temperature rise, beer vibes in ya, this a hot one. Link up, connect, bust a sweat when you're dead from the hot one. We gonna spice it up like fire.
Greetings, everyone. We're so excited. We're back, and we are indeed getting ready to be joined with Ordine Simmons. And as she's coming in, well, hello and welcome. How are you today?
I'm doing well, thank you. Thank you for having me. How are you?
I am fabulous, fabulous. And I'm so excited that you're with me today. I'd like to dive right in. I'd like to just ask you, who is Miss Ordine Simmons? You know, I always ask my guests this question, but everybody has a different answer, and everybody wants to know who you are. So if you could just take a moment and tell us who Miss Ordine Simmons is behind all the titles. Tell us who you are.
No, absolutely. Well, to start off, I am a mother of two. I have a 19-year-old and a 10-year-old. Don't ask why there's such a vast difference, but there is. Two wonderful kids. I'm a husband to a wife, to a supportive, wonderful husband who we were actually friends for several years before getting married. But to go a little bit deeper into that, you know, I'm also a daughter to two wonderful parents. And a older sister to a wonderful supportive sister who at times I have to wonder if she's the older sister. Originally born in Toronto, Ontario in Canada, born and raised, moved to the US once I got married and started my family. But even to give a little bit more insight as to who I am, I'm a lover of people, all walks of life. From very young, I gravitated towards making friends with anyone, regardless of religion, you know, gender, background, culture. And I think a lot of that is attributed to where I was raised. I'm a philanthropist. I love doing volunteer work. I love helping the needy. This is something that I do as often as I can and try to get my family involved as well. Career-wise, I'm in project management and risk management. I really enjoy that. That's really been a huge challenge for me in my career because I started out in an industry in hospitality, which I loved so much. I did that for 10 years and enjoyed it. And getting that face-to-face interaction with people is great because I'm a people person. I love people. And then changing to the behind the scenes and being more of that support, which was a change for me. It was a challenge, but I also enjoyed it as well. And so kind of getting to put those two worlds together has brought me to where I am today.
Well, I thank you for that. I think it's so important for those who have read and who are reading to just get insight on who the author is. And so as we go into digging a little bit deeper into Miss Ordine Simmons, I would like to turn the dial towards your book and towards your story. And I would like to ask you, why did you title your book, What Is? I want to make sure I say it correctly because what was is not what is.
No, absolutely. Well, first I want to say it was really an honor to be a part of this project, to be with so many wonderful authors, and the simple concept itself was just, it was just mind blowing to be able to bring people together to share their stories of adversity and triumph. When you extended the invite to be a part of this project, I instantly had two ideas of what I wanted to write, but this one stuck out with me more. And that was the story of going through loss at a very, very early age, an experience that I wouldn't wish on anyone, regardless of what age you are. But I titled the book, What Was Is Not What Is because this was a period in my life. And to give a little bit of insight to fully understand, I was that child who was an academic. I did very well in school. I was loved by teachers. You know, my parents had high hopes for me. I had high hopes for me. I wanted to be a prime example for my sister. And the idea I had in my mind was, I'm going to grow up, I'm going to become a lawyer, I'm going to get married, I'm going to have my family. And I was on that path academically. And unfortunately, I allowed myself to get distracted. And what happened was very early, I found that I was veering away from some of the morals that were instilled in me. And I found myself becoming a pregnant teen and going through this experience of having a child and losing the child. And, you know, unfortunately having to mourn that loss. And although I had a very supportive family, very supportive parents, very supportive friends, there was still that part of me that felt, how could you allow this to happen? This wasn't you. You're allowing yourself to become a statistic, because unfortunately for young Black women, especially, decades ago, it wasn't, we were a higher statistic for incidents of that nature. And it was disappointing. I felt like I failed my parents, I failed myself, I failed my sister, the teachers who were, encouraging me, I failed them. And so I allowed myself to be put in this box. And it wasn't a box that anyone put me in, it was a box I put myself in. And so as time went on, I kind of felt like, because of that distraction, that disruption, it took me off of the path I had for myself academically. And I found myself struggling to kind of catch up and trying to fit back in. Because at the time when you're a pregnant teen, my friends, they didn't disown me, but I felt like I'm different now. I can't do the things they're doing. I can't go the places they're going. And so at times I would distance myself. So going back to the question, to where I am today, successful in my career, raising 2 wonderful kids, have an extremely supportive husband, still have the supportive family, I realized that mistake that happened doesn't define me. It's what was then is not who I am today. In no way does that define me whatsoever. And it's something that was said to me often by my parents, that was a mistake that happened, brush it off, let it go, and keep going.
That is so powerful and such an important message, especially for youth today. Well, people in general today, because a lot of times people get stuck. And I know that was something that even our other author talked about, how you shouldn't get stuck. And so, I thank you for that. I'd like to continue on just a little bit deeper in your writing process. You wrote in third person, and not only did you write in third person, but you were very transparent. I would like for you to answer 2 questions because we're going to go to break in about 2 minutes. So you're going to be really fast for me and answer that very first question for me. And when we get back, we'll ask additional questions, but we'll be joined with the other author, and it'll be amazing.
No, absolutely. So third person wasn't intentional. I've been a writer from very young. I started writing short stories in school. I loved writing. And my short stories, unfortunately, could never be a short story. And I was fortunate enough to have one of my elementary books published in the local school library. And so I enjoyed writing plays and things that were narrative. And so when I sat down to write this chapter, it took forever. I really was like sitting down, quiet weekends, nothing was coming to me. And I said, remove yourself, because it was very hard for me to be as transparent. I felt very vulnerable, but I removed myself from it and I told the story as a narrator. And instantaneously, it just came to me, and it allowed me to actually revisit some feelings and emotions that I had that I forgot I had, some very deep emotions that I didn't even verbalize to myself, much less to anyone else. And here I am putting it in this book and, sharing it with the world. And so I think the concept of doing it in third person allowed me to be completely transparent with my audience, completely transparent with myself. And it worked. I think it worked, at least. I found that a lot of people did enjoy it.
We'll be right back in just a moment with the Varlax. And thank you for that wonderful answer. So we'll be back in just a moment.
Time. It has a different meaning in the U.S. Virgin Islands. It goes backwards, forwards, it stops. St. Croix is rooted in history. So much of it still remains untouched.
I remember running on these streets as a kid. This shop was right down there. It opened the same year I was born. This is where the original Crucian hook was born. It's the symbol of these islands. And I wanted to have my hands in that very same history. I want to be able to pass it down to my family while still putting a new spin on it.
The U.S. Virgin Islands, we have an amazing culture that developed over time from all over the world.
St. John feels so untouched. Being underwater is like another world. There's no worries, there's no stress. I can just escape. This is my happy place. My passion for scuba diving came at just being fascinated with the water and wanting to be a mermaid. And this is the closest thing I can get to achieving mermaid status. Canadians just love being outdoorsy. We live for adventure, so we love anything hiking, being on the water, diving, snorkeling, and St. John has it all.
It's like some spirit is protecting the island and keeping them raw. The Makujumbi watches over the island. From up there, they keep the evil spirits away. The nightlife in St. Thomas is absolutely amazing. There's always something going on. Everyone comes together to dance and catch a vibe. We're always celebrating. We celebrate freedom, culture, the food, the smell, the music. It's always a celebration. The people here are probably the most priceless thing because they keep the culture going. There's so many different influences on these islands. Food from all kind of countries coming together in new dishes. All of us came from somewhere, but all that we call this home. The VI is a new melting pot. This is where the past and the future comes together.
Greetings, and we're back, and we're so excited because we have two amazing authors with us with an additional special guest. And we are diving right into their books, their stories, their lives, and getting to know who they are and what their stories are. So welcome back, guys. Welcome back to the Varlax. Welcome back, Miss Ordine Simmons.
Right.
And we're going to dive right in. And I have a question for the both of you. And Tracy, I'd like for you to dive in and answer this first question. What would you say was the biggest surprise for you in releasing your book, and how was it received? How was it received? What was the biggest surprise, and how was it received?
Surprise for me writing this chapter in this book was the fact of realizing that there were several things I had actually was still holding on to. I could not believe it. Of course, I thought I had let stuff go, and I thought to myself, oh my goodness. So my reaction to that was like, no, I forgave, or I let that go, or I dealt with that. And the Lord was like, no, you probably need to look at that again. So I was shocked, and I thought, oh my gosh, because they were so painful, I thought, I'm going to have to think about that again. I'm going to have to go through it again and deal with it. I mean, I thought it was over, but it was not. So that was my biggest surprise. And my reaction to it was like, no, I don't think I want to do that. I'm pretty sure it's done. But I had to look at it anyway.
I thank you for that. But the second part of that question for me was, how was it received? Like from, sometimes people when they write and they're transparent and there's even pain in that. As authors, sometimes there can be some angst, like, oh my God, now people can really read about what I went through, what I was feeling. So what would you say? How was it received from those of you who you heard back from?
Wow, it was, yeah, there was some pushback, because with my husband telling him, and I would bring things up, and he would be like, that happened a long time ago. Not that he was dismissing me, but thinking that I had already gone through those things, or I have already taken care of, settled it, and now I'm bringing things back up, and now I'm feeling all these feelings again. As if it was happening brand new. Everybody around me, just about, who was close to me, were like, what is going on? What's happening with you? My daughter would ask me constantly, Mom, are you okay? Are you okay? And, she just wanted to pray for me all the time. And I thought, I'm okay. God is actually sending me through, or taking me through this, because there's some things that I've realized by writing this chapter, bringing my feelings out, that I had not let go of. So they were anxious, they were worried, kind of, but prayerful. And so I think it was received by the people around me. It was a little shocking to them maybe, but they received it as well as can be expected, I guess. They prayed for me. They were supportive. They even kind of helped me through and helped talk through some things. So that was a blessing. But when God is in the midst of something, things kind of go like that. Even if you don't realize, that this is happening, or I need to do it, God is kind of in the midst. So he allowed my family to kind of be there for me and help me with it.
Yep.
Awesome. I thank you for that. Because I know it's really important when a story goes out like that. It's oftentimes for the readers who are reading, for them to not only get the story, but for them to also begin to apply it sometimes to themselves. And when someone's going through grief like that, it's a help sometimes to know that you're not by yourself. So I appreciate that in your story and your transparency. I'm going to go to Ordine now, and I'm going to ask you the same question. What was the biggest surprise? And also, how was your story, your book, received? We know that it's out there, it's a bestseller, and people have definitely given comments from all over. But what have you heard?
Well, first, the biggest surprise I would say was the reception that I got from my parents. So, writing this story, and it's not easy. I'm a parent of a teenager, and I really am thankful for the parents I have. It wasn't easy. We did have some tumultuous times, my father and I. It was a little bit difficult, but at one point I was daddy's girl. And, this happened, and we didn't really know how to get through that challenge. Where my mom was, extremely supportive, and my father was supportive in his own way, but it did affect the relationship. And so when I decided to write this chapter and share my story, I reached out to my parents to let them know, that I was going to do this. And they were both supportive in me sharing that. I really wanted their blessing on it. But the biggest surprise was how much they were supportive. With my mother, she shared she read the chapter 5 times. And I was like, oh, wow. Okay. And she really enjoyed it. And she loved, how I was honest and transparent and was able to show that this was just one aspect of my life that I didn't let hold me back, as well as acknowledge the experience and where God brought me from to where he's brought me to. Another surprise with my dad. So I sent him the book and I kept checking in with him, like, have you read it? What do you think? Have you read it? And he was like, no, I haven't read it yet. What might have been reasons, but more sounded like excuses. And I allowed it time. And when he finally did read it, he called me and he apologized. And he apologized because he said he didn't realize that a lot of the emotions and the trauma emotionally that I was going through had affected me in that way. I've always been one to kind of be reserved, keep my feelings and emotions to myself. I'm that strong person, don't let them see you cry type of thing. And so because I felt like I poured out a lot, and like I said earlier, there were things that I went through that I never verbalized. I verbalized it in this book. He was just like, I didn't know you went through that. And it was a moment. Mind you, our relationship had healed well before this book, but it just added more healing to the relationship. And so that was a huge surprise for me. And then as far as reception, I was getting the phone calls and the texts and the emails from family and friends, thanking me for sharing the story. Some people were actually like, something similar happened to them. And for the simple fact that I could put this out there was further acknowledgement that this is helping someone. And that's the key. It wasn't about, glorifying this situation. It was about saying, I'm human and you might see me one way, but believe it or not, I went through this. And so the reception I got from the readers was wonderful. It also inspired other people who wanted to write to, say, this is something that I want to do. And seeing you do this has inspired me to do the same.
I thank you for that answer. And as we are going to go to break in just a few moments, what I would like to do is I want you to give me a really quick answer. What does discovering strength look like to you? Strength looks different in different ways for different people. But as this is discovering strength, Tracy, what does discovering strength mean to you? Just give me a couple of words, and then we're going to go right back to Ordine, and then we're going to take a break.
Well, discovering strength means freedom. It means healing, deliverance, and just seeing myself in a different light better.
Oh, I love that. I thank you. Ordine.
Yeah, no, what she said. No, I'm just joking.
I love that.
I mean, it is that, and for me, it's realizing that, sometimes we pray like, Lord, help me to be able to do this, but it's also help me to be able to get through this. And so it was finding that you're going to have obstacles and learning how to make your way through those obstacles. And once you've gotten to the end goal, understanding that when you lift weights, right, you start out with 5 pounds. And then as you get stronger, you go to 10 and 15 and 20. And so discovering the strength is, okay, we're starting out at this level. And now, I know there's going to be more obstacles, but I've got the training. And so I have that support, and I know who my help comes from. And so that's what that means to me.
Awesome. I thank you for that. And when we come back, we're going to talk a little bit more about discovering strength, because this is indeed the book. But when we get back, we have some wonderful questions that we're going to ask our authors, and that we're going to dig a little bit deeper in getting to know them. And we'll be right back in just a moment. And we're so excited. In this segment, we're gonna keep it a little bit light, and we're gonna ask you some questions about you, so that our audience can get to know you just a little bit better. And so, my very first question, as we are authors, and we read, and it's about knowledge and books. So, this being a book show, what is your favorite book? What's your favorite book, and who is your favorite author, and why? Tracy, what's your favorite book, and who's your favorite author?
I can't hear you. I'm sorry. I can't hear.
We're having a little difficulty.
I don't think she can hear me. So, H or D, I'm going to ask you that same
Favorite book
question.
and favorite author?
She can hear. We'll go. We'll go back. Go ahead.
Yeah, sure. So I actually have two favorite books. One is To Kill a Mockingbird, and that was one of the books that kind of drew me in from a very early age. From school, we had to read it as part of the curriculum. And that just made me fall in love with books and reading and writing. The other one is The Coldest Winter Ever. Author is Sister Souljah. And it's just it's one of those books that it's so honest and raw and authentic. And the words that are used in the book, you can really, that's one thing that I think makes a great book. It really draws you in, and you can feel like you're a part of that story, or you're in the story and envision that. So Sister Souljah is one of my favorite authors. Another one is Toni Morrison, and I don't even think I need to explain why. But yeah, so two of my favorite authors.
I thank you for that. I'm hoping that Tracy can hear me now. Are you able to tell us your favorite author and also your favorite book? Can you hear me, Tracy?
My favorite book is Battlefield of the Mind by Joyce Myers. Ultimate favorite. It has caused me to think, and it helped me through writing and getting through some of the things, writing this chapter too. I had to go back and reference some things, and so that's my favorite book. And I love her books.
I thank you for that. I concur on actually all of those wonderful authors. Amazing. We have a lot of interaction happening, which we absolutely love. We are so thankful. So continue giving us the interaction. Thank you. We have comments from Ms. Salma Hayes. Ladies, it took courage for you to bring such transparency to others in your stories. Many are being healed because of your courage. How do you feel about that? Just that comment alone. Just take about 60 seconds and tell me what that made you feel just now. Tracy, you want to go first? I think there's a little delay. So how about you go first for me, or Dean?
I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
I'll go ahead. And so with that last comment, it's actually validation, because sometimes, when I put my story out, I wrote the chapter, and it took a while to get it to where I wanted it to be, and sent it off, submission, the final edits. And the very next morning I woke up and I was just like, what did I just do? Right? I just basically put myself out there. I never in my entire life felt so vulnerable and literally so naked. And I questioned myself, like, what are people going to think? And how is that going to change certain relationships? And, God said to me, it's in my hands, let it go. And I had to remember that when I initially went through that, shortly after, I was invited to work with young women at a local church who had gone through similar situations, or maybe didn't have the support of family. And so they were going through challenging moments in their life. And it allowed me to work with those women who maybe didn't traditionally grow up in the church, or they didn't have that connection per se, or they felt ostracized because of their lifestyle. And so it allowed me to connect with young girls on that level to say, you're not the only one. And so coming here, we are full circle and seeing that, this is encouraging for others. It's just more validation.
Yes. Tracy, are you able to hear me now? And if not, we're gonna continue on. I just want to say how awesome it is.
I hear you a little bit. Can you hear me?
Stories. Can you hear me now? I think we're having a little technical difficulties on that end. But as we move forward, I want to make certain.
I hear you a little bit.
Awesome. So the question came from our interaction that was going on, but we're going to move forward because, of course, unfortunately, we're running out of time. So what I want to do is, before we get into our joy segment, what I would like for you guys to do is to tell our audience what is next with you and how can they reach you. What's next with you? Like if you have some major projects going on, or if they want to reach you to come and speak about, youth, or if they want you to come and speak about grief, and how you got through it, because unfortunately during this season there's a lot of grief happening. It absolutely so much is happening and people need support. So how can our audience reach you? What's your next, and how can our audience reach you? Or do you want you go first, and then Tracy, you can go next after that, unless you're able to hear me. Could you hear me? Yes? Okay, then you go first.
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes. Well, go ahead and answer the question.
Okay, so what's next for us and how can people resurrect? That's what I'm hearing.
Absolutely. I'd like to hear that.
Okay, so what's next for us? Well, we've been thinking about lots of things. We are actually have been talking about writing a book together to encourage married couples, and particularly married couples in men. We want to help people see and know and understand that we're human. Sometimes there's this thing that goes along with being in ministry, that we're not supposed to go through things. We're not supposed to be touched by pains or different things that happen. We're not supposed to fall or fail or mess up in any kind of way. Able to have a safe haven, a place where people can come and go and be able to talk. Because when you're a pastor or a minister, who do you talk to? You can't talk to lay people, you have to be careful about what you say. Because believe it or not, even in church, not everybody is for you. But I want a safe place where people can come. And so my husband, we have a ministry, Rebuilding Ministries. We're on Facebook as rebuildingministries.com is the website. We try our best to put up blog, and we're going to do more of that together. And we're talking about writing a book together. This is all new for us. You opened it all up, Dawn. You started something because it was so encouraging and so wonderful to get that stuff down on paper.
Yeah.
I tell you, that sounds amazing to me. I thank you for that. And Miss Ordine Simmons, let us know how we can reach you, because we're going to be closing in just a moment, and I want them to know how they can reach you.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I'm still just living my regular life, but I am looking to start a company that will help small businesses with branding and customer service. And that page is not yet up, but if anyone wishes to reach me for speaking engagements, I can be reached at Ordine_Clark-Simmons. That's the Instagram handle. Or you can reach me on Facebook under Deanie Simmons, which is my nickname, and that's Deanie Simmons. So yeah.
Well, I just want to thank the both of you.
You can also reach us at Rebuild for Him.
All right. Well, I just want to thank the both of you for joining me, all three of you for joining me on the Dawn Francis Book Show. And we're closing out right now. And I just want to say, continue to be amazing and awesome. And thank you and have a fabulous day on purpose. Why? Because you can. The power is within you. Have a fabulous day. And thank you so much for joining me. Bye-bye. Have a great day.